Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ben.
What are we talking about today?
I'm thinking I was gonna tackle Twilight Imperium, if you don't mind.
That's interesting, because today I wanted to talk about Twilight Imperium.
You know what? 4th edition Twilight Imperium was on my docket too, actually. If you can believe it.
That's crazy. After I was going to talk about Twilight Imperium, the other thing I wanted to talk about was Twilight Imperium, its expansion, Prophecy of Kings.
Oh, I was not gonna talk about Prophecy of Kings. I was gonna talk about Twilight Imperium though.
Well, besides Twilight Imperium, what else are we talking about today?
I wanted to tell you 2 stories that I find interesting. One of them I think will make you really mad, and the other one I think you'll find really funny.
Okay.
The one I think you'll find really funny is the story of Rent-A-Girlfriend.
Rent-A-Girlfriend.
It's an anime/manga that recently had not a final chapter, but a place where the series could end.
Okay.
We'll say.
So it's not officially concluded.
Not officially. And then the other one I wanted to tell you about is The Legend of Twinklink.
Twinklink. Okay, my interest is piqued. I cannot wait.
I'm sure you're going to have to, and before that, we have to talk about
our starting topic,
which is
Twilight Imperium.
Twilight Imperium. So before Ben made the point that Inish is our top 3 favorite games of all time, and he's 100% right, at least for me. It's somewhere in my top 3. I think that yours could be Arcs.
Arcs I like a lot. I've definitely it gets my brain buzzing when we've played it, but we haven't really delved too deep into that.
Yeah, I haven't had as much fun when we played it, which I think is my inability to get the swing of it.
Mm-hmm.
But my third game, because it's definitely Inish in there somewhere. My third one it fluctuates. It might be Blood on the Clock Tower. It might be Eclipse. It might be
Secret Hitler. We played
Secret
that one a
lot. Quacks of Quedlinburg. It could be anything. It kind of fluctuates. But the one that never fluctuates, that I'm always certain on, is Twilight Imperium.
That's your number one?
That's my number one, and
what
I believe it's yours.
Twilight Imperium is also my favorite game.
It is probably the best game.
I don't know if it's the best game, but it's a board game that I'm proud of calling my favorite game because it's good, it's well designed, it's fun to play.
Yeah.
And it's also just gigantic. It's also opulent. It also goes out of its way to sell itself as the biggest, most complicated, most board gamey of board games that have ever boarded a game.
It's great, and one of my favorite things about it that I get to do every time that nobody believes is whenever we introduce it to somebody who has never played it before, I get to go to them and go, hey, just so you know, this game is going to take us 12 hours. And they go, of course it is. And they don't believe me. And then we get 10 hours in and they go, is this really going to take 12 hours? And I go, yes.
So
I warned you.
I always warn people that it's going to take 8 hours because reasonably it should take 8 hours. But with some of our friends, it ends up taking 12.
Yes. It depends on the number of players. But ultimately, this is a game that you need to set aside a day for.
Yeah. It's an all-day activity, kind of like playing D&D.
Yeah. What kind of? I would say D&D you can do in like a few hours.
Yeah, but I've never done that. Have you?
Yeah, my sessions usually are around 2 to 3.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I do play, one of the things I play, they end up going for way longer, but that's, I never changed the overlay. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh well.
You can see our recording setup.
Look, it's Twilight Imperium. We had this on here the whole time.
Yes, the whole time. We didn't have to restart recording at least twice.
Why would you tell them? They don't know. This is a lie. 4 to 8 hours?
No, 8 hours. Well, okay. I think it is entirely feasible to complete a 3-hour game in under 4 hours.
You mean a 3-person?
Yeah, a 3-player game.
I would say a 3-person, sure. Maybe even a 4.
Maybe even a 4-player game.
A 10 or not 10, like a 6-player game, which is like kind of the ideal number. Hell no. There's no way you're doing that in 8 hours, bro.
Okay, actually, let's back up. Listeners, why do we like this gigantic 12-hour long board game?
That's a really good question.
Well, for one, it's really fun.
It's so like the moment-to-moment gameplay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is we have a certain number of actions and we have to get 10 points. 10 points.
Yep.
To get 10 points, I just realized I put it in front of the overlay again. 10 points.
10 points.
To get 10 points, you need to do a certain number of objectives, and those objectives can vary.
They change every game.
Yeah, it's kind of roguelike-y in that regard. And sometimes the objectives will be very combat-focused. Sometimes the objectives will be very
economic-focused.
Oftentimes they're science-focused, which is a problem. But
well, in the base game, it was kind of a problem.
in the
'cause
base game,
there was one faction that's just better at science than the other one, so they had an advantage.
yeah. But it really depends, and getting those 10 those 10 points is the fun of it, because you have to figure out your pathway. When I play games like this, and Inish, in fact, the thing that pops into my head every time is like Fog of War. I can see the whole board, I can see everything, but I can't necessarily see my way to victory.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment that I continue playing, I get to a certain point, I can see that line that gets me right to the end.
Yeah.
That's the part that's like so much fun.
It's something that both Inish and Twilight Imperium does.
Exceptionally
to just
well.
restate what you literally just said, because that happens for me too. Like, you're just playing and you're just building up your resources and you're trying to get yourself in a good position, but there's always that point in the game where suddenly you look down at the board and you're like, I can win this.
Yeah.
And you get really serious and you get really quiet and you start calculating all the odds. You start trying to figure out how to hedge your bets to make sure that nobody fucks up your plans. And then you fuck up my plans. I should also point out that this is another game that Ryan wins disproportionately.
There was a period of like 2 years where every single time we played this, I think I won every game.
Doesn't stop it from being lots of fun for me. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is my favorite game to lose.
Oh yeah, without question. Especially okay, so my only gripe with that is that sometimes you lose and you're like, dang.
Oh, I'm emotionally devastated every single time I lose. Let's not get that wrong. But the thing is about emotional devastation is that it is a moment of high emotion. And if a board game can bring that out of me, I say it's a valuable piece of art, you know?
That's very fair. I just mean that sometimes you lose and you're like, oh, right, I just should have thought of that.
And sometimes I lose and I'm like, I'm going to kill myself tonight.
Unalive, Ben. We're supposed to say unalive.
Sorry, I unalived myself tonight. Why do you keep doing this to
I'm
me,
joking.
Ryan?
We're not doing that. We're not going to censor the word kill and suicide. We're not that. But yeah, this is easily so much fun. And the reason I keep doing it to you is because you're playing the game with me and you're in the same game as everybody else.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that we play with a big group of players. We are the
Usually.
most experienced
Yes.
at not just this game, but pretty much all of our board games.
Yeah, because we're like the two people who collect them, pretty
Except,
much.
well, now Eric,
Yeah, Eric.
who is going to get a shout out in every episode, I've decided.
I mean, we can shout out both of our main fans. We can also mention Alex.
Yeah, Alex, our other fan.
Yeah.
We have the D&D fan, and we have the board game fan.
Yeah. And yeah, besides, we're like the ones who just know the game, and this game in particular, we both have like looked into other things. I played it online with people,
Yeah.
which is a different experience than playing it with friends that you care about and want to have a high opinion of you.
I regularly would listen to there's a podcast that's very popular. It's called Space Cats, Peace Turtles.
Yeah.
It is now
Great name.
one of two podcasts about Twilight Imperiums, but it was the original one and it's the more popular one. I used to listen to that all the time. I would just read about it constantly. I would write on the Reddit forums, like strategies for different factions and stuff
We
like that.
also both own the accompanying RPG and Twilight Inscription, I believe.
You have a copy of Twilight
Oh,
Inscription
no, I
as
don't
well?
think I have a copy of Twilight Inscription. I think I didn't like it enough to get it.
We both own the
you
game.
definitely
We
have
both have
that.
the expansion for the game. We both have the RPG, which I don't like at all.
No,
But
not really.
no.
If I'm being honest, I'm happy I have it, and I'm like, I can maybe run it or give it to someone to run, but it's
Well, the thing is that,
Eh.
like, when it comes to space settings, so the universe of Twilight Imperium, it's got its own original setting, its own original thing. It's, like, kind of a mixture of Star Wars, Star Trek.
well, isn't it specifically a Dune thing?
It references Dune a lot.
Well, no, wasn't it? I think we've talked about it not on podcast before, but wasn't this game not Twilight Imperium? There was another game that was made in the Twilight Imperium universe because it couldn't be made in Dune.
There was, okay, so the official Dune board game, the one that was remade several years ago by Gale Force 9, that was, the rights to the game design were owned by Fantasy Flight Games, but not the rights to the Dune IP. So
Yeah.
they remade the Dune board game in the Twilight Imperium universe, and it's called Imperium Rex. And that game is now unavailable because the Dune board game is now, well, the rights are now owned by Gale Force 9, and they re-released the Dune board game finally.
Yeah.
But it worked really well because so much of the lore of Twilight Imperium that was originally written by, I forgot the name of the game. Is it Christian T. Peterson?
That sounds very correct to me.
That sounds correct, but I'm afraid I might be wrong. Well, most of the lore is just him, just copying his favorite tropes from a million different sci-fi settings, and Dune was chief among them. Things like, the Sardak Nor, those were probably named after the Souter Kur, stuff like that. The Hakan, my favorite faction, the Space Lions that are on the cover of the box are, from a desert planet just like Dune.
This does not seem to have authors in it.
It normally would be right there on the front. Actually, it should be on the board, the box. Yeah, Christian T. Peterson, it's on the board. It's on the box.
I figure you knew it. So that's definitely true. They're very much take from Dune. I don't know a lot about Dune, to be totally fair with you. I haven't watched the movies and I haven't read the books.
I strongly okay, I guess we're going to talk a little bit about Dune during this podcast.
I would like to get deeper into it from what I have seen, but I haven't as much. I want to watch the movies, the new one that came out with what's his name? I forgot the main name of the main character.
Timothée Chalamet. Who has... I can't believe you forgot that name, because Chalamet is like my favorite name to say. Timothée Chalamet.
It's not my favorite name to say.
It's a fun name to say.
I like to come up with my fun names to say, like soup.
Soup.
And stew.
I don't get it, but
I have a D&D character who's a chef whose name is Stew, and he has a little pot familiar named Soup.
Thank you for that.
But yeah, Timothée Chalamet, and he, I wanted to see the movie. I haven't watched them yet, but I heard they were both really good.
They're both fine. I like them a lot, but like, it's another one of those situations where I saw the movie, read the book, and I'm like, okay, I don't think you can properly adapt this book. I think this movie is about as good as you're going to get, but what is absolutely stunningly amazing about this book is entirely in the written word. Frank Herbert is better at writing exposition than any other author. And that's a weird thing to say, but exposition is the best part of Dune. Normally it's the worst part, but like this is where he's just explaining like the stuff on this planet, the harshness of like how it, like what you have to do in order to survive here, what the animals, like how they've evolved in order to survive on the harshness of Dune. It is riveting, dude. It is so cool. They're explaining about the Souter Kur, and it's like, this is cool. They're explaining about the Fremen, and it's like, this is cool. Everything about it is cool. And whenever like anyone recommends Dune, they'll just start like explaining all the lore. And I hate when people do that.
Because that's the part that's so fun to read.
Well, that's the part that they like, and that's the part that they get into, but they don't understand that when they're explaining the lore doesn't sound cool because they're not as good at it as Frank Herbert.
Okay.
So they're making the book sound bad. Well, not necessarily bad, but like...
Not as good as it is.
The thing is, like, you hear a description of, it's a desert planet, and like in the future they need to use this chemical called spice to like give them super brain powers to do calculations, to do faster than light travel. They get into all like the nitty-gritty details. Like, no, shut up. It's a really cool fantasy book. It's a huge inspiration for things like Star Wars and many other things today. Read it.
Okay.
I
will attempt to read it. I'm not going to promise, but I will attempt.
Back to Twilight Imperium, though. Didn't want to spend too many... Yeah. We're probably going to end up doing a lot of tangents off of this one subject, because that's what the nice thing about a big fucking thing like Twilight Imperium.
Well, let's talk about... So you already mentioned your favorite faction.
Yeah, let's talk about... Well, there's factions. So It is a big, complicated war economic game where you have to get our objectives, as we've described before. And there's different strategies you can take to do that. And on top of that, there is, originally in the base version of the 4th edition of the game, 17 different factions to choose from, each with their own unique playstyle. After a while, they had an expansion that added in an extra... they brought up the number to 24 factions, and then there was a free update where you could like download a 25th faction off the internet and play.
Still haven't done.
I don't think it's worth it. They're probably my least favorite faction they've ever created.
Well, I mean, I haven't played them. I don't want to say that with confidence. But my favorite faction actually is in one. I'm not going to bother looking at these. My favorite faction is actually in the expansions. It's definitely got to be the Empyrean. 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 They're space bats. Their whole thing is that they are incredibly peace-loving, and not peace-loving, but they're very diplomatic.
Yeah, they don't fight anyone. Instead, they watch and observe. It's like the whole
Yes.
thing in their lore. And they always find excuses to not fight, and all of their gameplay advantages facilitate, like, diplomacy and trading and ways to avoid conflict.
Yep, and like they have stuff where you can just pass through them, which normally you can't do. Normally, if your units end up in the space of somebody else, you have to fight.
Yeah, you're blocking. Normally, you're using your fleets to block off territory, but in this case, the Imperium block off areas and then charge other people to go through.
Yep. And they're my favorite faction because I do not like the combat in this game very much, and I'm very bad at it.
I like the combat in Twilight Imperium. I like the dice rolling. I have spent an inordinate amount of time on the unofficial calculator, like combat battle calculator that you can find online, and just trying out different combinations of ships and abilities, and like checking out the math and what's the odds of like one fleet beating another fleet. Like little things like, oh, if you upgrade your destroyers to destroyer 2s, they're suddenly one of the best ships in your entire fleet.
Yep.
But until you do that, they're basically useless and you shouldn't even buy them. Stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff.
I shouldn't say when I say the combat, I just mean like every other part.
Yeah.
Not the actual like rolling of dice. I mean, fighting other people in this game never works out for me ever.
No.
Ever.
You always win, but you always figure out a way to do that without fighting or minimizing the amount of fighting you have to do. Like, have you ever actually won a game with a combat?
I don't think so. I think I came close once. I'm pretty sure there was a game where it might have been our second or third game, but it was like a game where I think the end goal was I needed to defeat a certain number of enemies on a planet, and I couldn't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the details. I can't remember the details of most of our games. I either didn't win that game, or if I did, it was through some other thing. Like it might have been through the Crown of Infinity or something like that.
Yeah, some weird like side objective.
Yeah.
The game is big and complicated, and there's tons of little things that might come up and other things that may not come up, and etc.
Like, if you're wondering why we're being kind of vague about how to play it, it's because explaining how to play it one-to-one would take the whole podcast, and it wouldn't be that interesting.
No. Like, the game isn't fun because I do think the minutia of the rules is fun.
I think the minutiae rules is fun, but it's only fun if you're there in the game, when you're like, you have your sheet and you have your stuff on it, and you're like, all right, I need to know how combat works.
The biggest problem with board game reviews is the part where they explain the rules of the game, and it's like, I can't pay attention to this.
Well, people can't pay attention when we explain it to them outright.
Nope.
We'll be ready to play a game. We'll have it out, and we'll be telling people the rules. They'll be like, all right, yep. And then we'll finish and be like, any questions? And I'm like, I didn't understand anything you just said.
It's like, it's fine. At the start of the game, you have no options anyway.
Yes.
You just move out, take planets, get resources. It's easy.
Yeah, and that is amazing. And there's a strong strategy of keeping your secret objectives, but let's not get into deep.
My favorite faction are called the Hakan. They are the space lions that are on the cover of the box.
Right here, maybe.
And I love them because, well, just the idea of playing an opulent space lion merchant is just hilarious to me. I think it was because Shut Up and Sit Down played it up when they first reviewed 4th
It's also
edition.
because there's no apes.
It's also because there's no apes. That's an undeniably good point. So the Hakan's whole thing is pure economy.
They're very rich.
They make as much money as possible. They can make trades with other players more easily. They get lots of free money when they make trades and stuff. And then they use their money to play however they want. They can play diplomatically, which I try to do most of the time, and then I give up because nobody is taking any of my deals because Ryan has
What? Don't blame me.
undermined me. It is always your fault.
It's
though.
not. It wasn't my fault the last 2 times.
Anyway.
Last 2 times he took your deal and it effed him in the butt, and he was like, "I'm never taking deals with you again." That was your fault.
Fair enough, but that is how it's supposed to be played.
True, but still.
And then eventually I use my massive economy to build multiple Death Star units. They're called War Suns.
And then,
I lose a giant combat because of really bad luck.
probably because of Jake.
Probably because of Jake.
Jake usually beats. Jake loves this game, but he loves it for the combat parts.
Yeah, well, he's a battle strategist if I've ever seen one.
I mean, his main thing in Civ is production.
Oh, yeah?
He goes all production, and then he just wins because he's got more stuff than you do.
It's the way to play. It's how I always think I'm going to play it out, and then, again, I somehow just get undermined at the last second.
I want to talk about a couple of the other factions that I think are pretty interesting.
Yeah, because like, even though this isn't a game like if our listeners have ever heard of the board game Root, Root
Yeah.
is a game that has a bunch of different factions to play, and every single faction is basically playing a different board game.
Pretty much.
And at first, when I learned about that, I thought it was really, really cool. But then when I experienced it, I found it pretty frustrating because I had to learn the rules to my faction, and I also had to be completely aware of the rules of all the other factions. And the game I was playing with my faction didn't feel super fun to me.
I played Root a few times, and I tried the computer version. In fact, the experience was pretty much the experience I had every time, except every time I tried a different faction, I also didn't like their faction.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's like it's always grass is always greener. It's like, oh, I want to play as the birds because they've got this
plan
weird
stuff.
Exactly, or play as the Woodland Alliance with their little ambushes, or play
so
as
weird.
With Twilight Imperium, the factions are not that different where everyone's playing a different game. It's like, no, everyone's playing the same game. You're still building ships, you're still researching science, you're still making trades with other players. But the rule changes that each one provide can be massive. Like the Arborec play totally different from the Nomad.
Yes. So the Arborec, for those who aren't aware, which is probably most of you, is a giant plant.
Yeah, or a planet of plants. It's like a hive mind of all plants. They're all like, their whole thing is that they can just build an insane amount of ground units. Like an insane. You have a gigantic stack. After you run out of little plastic pieces to represent your soldiers, they have little cardboard tiles. And the first time I played as Arborec, I had a stack of like little tiles like this tall with a little flag on
Not
top.
on top of moved to the side.
On top of it. Yeah, okay, so I'm imagine like a roll of quarters. It was about that tall.
It's a huge amount of ground units, and that's really good, but if you can't get them where you need to get them, it doesn't fucking matter.
Hey, if you're holding Mechatol Rex, nobody can take it from you.
No.
On the other hand, the Nomad's whole deal is that like the faction is represented by like one character, which is the Nomad, this like super rich time traveler or something like that.
Yeah.
And they get to start with their flagship unit like from the beginning of the game, and they've got like special abilities on their flagship, and they can upgrade their flagship.
They can also get their flagship back really quickly, which is the flagship, for the reference, is like the one of your most powerful units, arguably.
It depends on the faction. Like every single faction has a unique flagship, which is just another thing that I love.
I also want to talk about the Brotherhood because of the fun connection you can do with the Brotherhood.
You mean the Yin?
Yeah, the Brotherhood of Yin.
Okay.
So the Brotherhood of Yin are like not fascists.
They're a cult of clone. Like they're all clones of this one guy, and they're a religious cult that are obsessed with like the original scientist that started cloning them, who's of course long dead and never intended for any of this.
Yeah. And so the reason I bring them up is because their whole thing is kind of like based on clones and everything, and one of their main deals is that they're a religious fever. One of their main things is their flagship. They can send it into like a space and it explode it.
Yep. When it dies, it just destroys every single unit in the field.
Yep.
Every single one. Doesn't matter how big that fleet is, it's gone.
And a thing you can do, because you can play this game alliance-wise. We've only done it, I think we did it once, or we tried to do it once and we failed. One of the alliances you can make is you have the Nomad, who's really good at getting their ship back, and the Brotherhood, who's really good at making their ship go away.
That's a good way of putting it. Nomad grants his ally the ability to like rebuild their flagship for free anytime they lose it, and then the Yin just go in, send their flagship by itself as a suicide bomber, blowing up entire fleets. It's never worked out.
We've never tried it.
No. Yeah, Silas has tried it because the Yin are Silas's favorite faction, I believe.
I don't know. It's hard to tell with him.
He plays them a lot, and he always gets really excited about blowing up that flagship. Which I'm 100% I can get behind.
Yeah, that's such a fun reaction. We also can't do this podcast justice without mentioning the Necrovirus.
Oh my god! So there is a faction. You play as a virus who like controls the AI of all the ships and like stuff that the other units have, and they steal technology. Like they can't research technology like other factions can.
No.
Instead, they steal it, and they can actually get a shit ton of tech really fast that way.
Yep, they have to attack you, and if they defeat one of your units, they can just steal.
But their weakness, and that means we get to bring up my favorite part of the game, is that they do not get to participate in the Galactic Council because they are considered a galactic threat. And the Galactic Council is my favorite subsystem of the game.
Right. So, A lot of the gameplay in the initial rounds is just expanding, making your territory bigger, getting more units. Eventually, however, this flips as soon as whoever manages to get to the center of the board, which is Mechatol Rex.
Mechatol Rex being like the Coruscant, or like it's the big central planet that like the Empire is founded on.
You're playing Helldivers, it's Earth.
Yeah.
And getting to Mechatol Rex changes the game. Because now there's a whole new diplomatic part they add in, where you and your other players all can vote over laws and edicts, and these will fundamentally change the rules and give you new things. An example of a thing that we did one time is that I was playing a faction that specializes in portals and like time portals.
The wormholes. You're playing as the Ghosts of Krios. Specifically. They're like these extra-dimensional travelers.
Yes, and one of the laws and edicts is that you can't use portals anymore. You can't use your wormholes.
Yeah, so you disable the wormholes for the rest of the game and just completely screw over this faction that's built entirely around using wormholes.
Yeah, you can do stuff like that. We've also done a thing, I think, we did one against you. I think it was removing your ability to do something.
Well, anytime there's like an economic thing when I'm playing as Sakan, because I play as... So, Ryan sings that he tries out every single faction. Have you played every single faction at least once yet?
I do not think
You obviously haven't played the newest one, the Calaris Collective, or whatever they're called.
I haven't played them. I think there's a couple I haven't played. I don't know if I've played the Embers and Muat.
Embers and Muat are, I think, my second favorite faction.
The problem is that like I forget like every game after we do it.
Which one you played?
Yeah, I pretty much only vaguely remember the last one. I just know that I had a good time.
The Embers and Muat, I'm gonna bring them up because they're another one of my favorite factions. They're like these fire guys that like live in these big like coffin suits.
Yeah.
And their whole deal is that they get to start with Death Stars.
Yep.
They can build Death Stars from the beginning of the game. They have a Death Star unit in their starting fleet, and they can sell the Death Star technology to the other factions.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying. They're not considered very good, though.
No.
Because I'd say the biggest balancing mechanic in Twilight Imperium is that, like, if a faction is stronger than the others, then they're just going to get ganged up on by all the players.
Yep.
And then it doesn't matter that they're stronger.
But you were saying that my big like edict, I guess we'll say, is that I play like every faction, and I might try it again because there's some I know I haven't played. There's some I wanted to try, but I haven't, like the Titans.
You haven't played the Titans yet?
No, because they're evil.
Yeah. Okay. Titans. My God. So Titans is one of the most popular expansions since the expansion came out. Thank you. And I swear to God, they've been in. We've had someone play them in every single game we've played since the expansion came out, and they're always oppressive.
Yeah, every time.
Always. They are giant, colossal robots that like terraform planets, and one of their coolest ability is that they can just permanently buff a planet, and they can sell that buffed planet to another player.
Well, their main ability that fucks us is the...
Well, their main ability that fucks us is that they've got really good cruiser units that are cheap and have what do you call it? Sustained damage.
Which means they have more HP.
I'm
gonna give it that.
Super fast, super tough. So unfair. That's so unfair.
But I don't think I've ever played them. Ben's main edict when he plays this game is he pretty much sticks to like 3 factions.
Well, that's the thing. I went into this with the same goal you did. I'm like, I want to play as every faction at least once, try everything out, and like play it. The thing is that I wanted to start with Sakan because it was the big one on the front of the box.
Yep.
And I fell in love with it. And like every single time I've played another faction since then, I'm like, okay, this was a lot of fun, but it's not as fun as when I play as Sakan.
Well, you haven't played Pirates.
I played Pirates before. My problem with Pirates is that so they are the Mentat
Collective.
The Mentat Collective. Their whole deal is that whenever anyone makes a trade on the board, they steal a bit of money from the trade. So like I give 2 trade goods to Ryan, and Jake just takes one of them for free, and that is really annoying. It's not that powerful, but it pisses everyone the fuck off.
I don't know. Jake had War Sons.
Well, yeah, he did have War Sons in that. Jake's really good at this game. The point is that it gets everyone like mad at you when they attack you.
Yep.
I've played them like a couple of times, but I never feel as good as I want them to. Like, I want to have that big economic advantage. I want to be able to like do cool hit and run tactics because they also have like buffed cruisers.
Yeah.
Except they're not as good as a Titan cruiser. So what's the point?
Yeah, but this game is so fucking good, dude. There's also a million different ways to build your map. There's a million different. There's also different ways to play all together, like the alliance mode we mentioned earlier.
Oh, and then there was the massive expansion pack that
added in a million new things, that added in some of the factions we talked about.
Yeah.
They added in whole new mechanics.
Like exploration, now every time you capture a planet, like each planet has a type, like it's an economic planet or it's a hazardous planet or something like that, and that gives you like special bonuses. You can collect relics that you have special powers. You can trade do the laws. I'm trying to just go through millions of little
They also added mechs.
Oh my god. Every single faction has a unique mech unit with a unique power, kind of like the flagships.
And they added generals and stuff. So I think the first what's the first one called? Commander
the
and
leaders, you mean?
Leaders, yes.
There is an agent, a commander, and an admiral or something like that?
I think I think it's agent
Hero.
General. Hero.
Hero unit. The hero unit, well, for Hakan, that's the one that lets me just get War Suns for free, which is my favorite thing of all time.
The hero unit for the Ghost of Kriess is probably the coolest and most fun overall.
Which one was that again? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The hero unit lets you take any space on the board that isn't an enemy faction and change it with another one.
Yeah, okay, so the board is made up of modular hexagonal tiles. So you make a big hexagon out of hexagons.
Yep.
And because of that, you can rearrange them.
Hexagons are the bestigons.
They might be.
Have you not seen the CPT Gray video?
No.
Do you know who CTP Gray is, I think?
He is that YouTuber who does educational content and has also done some kind of crappy stuff that I don't want to get into on this podcast right now.
I did not know about that. Okay, cool. We'll talk about that later.
There's always something, man.
I should be educated.
There's always something. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Okay. Is it bad enough to stop watching?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, he has a great video called Hexagons Are the Bestigons.
No, I have to watch that.
It's very good. But yeah, they have the hexagonal tiles, and the Ghosts of Kriess, their whole main thing with their hero is they can take any of those tiles and switch them. Now, what you can do, for example, is you can take that center tile, Megatile Rex, the really important one.
You just put it right next to your home planet.
Right next to your home planet. And that's also another important detail, is when you get that, you get points. That's one of the other ways to get points.
Oh yeah, besides all the objectives, if you control the center planet, you can use that to earn points, meaning that it's always a constant source of conflict, which is always fun.
There's a couple of ways to get points besides that, but that's nitty-gritty stuff. We don't got to get into depth about that. I will now tell you my negative.
Yeah.
I've kind of already told it to you, but the fact that this game takes 8 to 16 hours potentially with an 8-player game.
Okay, there is no reason our games should take 12 hours anymore.
I'm not saying that they should take them. I'm saying that they do. It doesn't matter if they should or shouldn't.
I'm not going to call out a certain friend, but if he is listening to the podcast, which he isn't, but our other friends are listening to it, so we know.
So anyway, Silas.
Dude, just take your turn. Stop getting so distracted.
I mean, we could say that about you sometimes.
Okay, yeah, so he's distracted. I am
not.
I am thinking way too hard and getting really bad analysis paralysis because I had my entire plan figured out the whole round, and then Ryan fucks it up, and now I'm going to come up with a new plan now that it's my turn, and it took me an entire round to come up with the previous plan, so I don't know what you expect me to do.
All of that's true and fair, but my point is that it still takes a long time to play the game.
It takes too long to set up. It takes too long to put away.
Oh my god, putting it away sucks every time. Like, the system we had before I owned a copy.
Yeah, when it was just my copy of the game and people had to come over to my house.
Ben would get a bin and we'd just shove it in, and then he would take a day at some point and then just organize it.
Yeah, or when we played at my house, I would just leave it out on the table overnight and then I'd put it away in the morning.
Yeah. These are two huge negatives. And I think one of the things that draws me to Eclipse sometimes over this is that I know that Eclipse...
It's so neatly organized.
It's got an amazing... It's the whole reason we even own it, or I bought it.
Yeah.
Is because of the organizing trays, and Eclipse are so nice and good, and then you can just put it away and it's done.
arguably eclipses like the tighter designed game, you know?
Oh,
because
yeah.
like Twilight Imperium is big and messy and it's imbalanced.
But that's part of why we like it.
Like, yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
it adds to that gigantic experience. Like every single game of Twilight Imperium is an event, you know? Like
Yeah.
that is a special event day that we plan out ahead of time.
Like, we haven't played it nearly as much as we probably both have wanted to, solely because we have to first get like 4 other people at least
Not
to
necessarily.
get to
Okay.
it.
I like 3-player games a lot, and if I could, I would be playing a 3-player game of Twilight Imperium like every single week. And the thing is that like if Mike was okay with it, because Mike is our out of all of our friend group, I'd say he likes it. He likes it the most.
He likes it the most.
He somehow like we've been going on and on about how it's like both of our favorite game, and then there's Mike who loves it so intensely that it kind of scares me.
He doesn't like other games, is the thing.
He scares the hell out of me.
This is the only, like, if I brought this up, because I work with Mike, if I brought this up at work, it's pretty much all we're talking about.
But he wants the 6-player game.
Yes.
He wants the balanced experience. He wants everyone to be taking the game seriously and playing by the rules, and he wants like that almost tournament level experience. And I get that because part of me wants it too, but I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
No, probably not.
We don't have 6 friends that all are as obsessed with the game as Mike.
No, not even you or I are to that point. And we're both, like, pretty high up there. I know more about the lore of this board game than any other board game I own.
It's weird how much I know. Well, I got into the lore specifically because, like, I have strong opinions on fantasy universes, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you do your dwarves in a way I don't like, I'm going to be salty and I'm not going to like that fantasy universe and I'm not going to want to play RPGs in that universe, you know? Science fiction, I don't care as much.
Interesting.
Like, there's other sci-fi like things. It's like, okay, the Star Trek universe is fine, the Star Wars universe is fine, the StarCraft universe is fine, the Warhammer 40K universe is fine. And like Twilight Imperium, I'm just like, well, I love this board game. It's not something that other people it isn't as well known about.
It's more of a niche.
So I got into the actual lore of it, and it's like, oh, this is cool. I like this. This is about as good as Star Trek, you know?
Yeah.
I like my space lions. I like my big epic space war. I like my evil empire from another dimension that is trying to take over the galaxy secretly.
I think that I was trying to think about because I like the comparison between like specifically Warhammer because Warhammer's getting a show like soon, I believe.
Oh yeah,
by Henry Cavill, who's like producing it, I think.
Nice. Okay.
And he's a huge Warhammer fan.
Yeah, I mean Henry Cavill's just like
he's
Hollywood's biggest nerd.
Yeah, he's without question. Well, maybe Sofia Vergara's husband, whose name I forgot.
Matt Mercer?
No, the other one. He's the guy who Vin Diesel like.
I got him mixed up. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
He was in Spider-Man 1. He was the bully in Spider-Man with.
He played Flash Thompson.
Yes,
I can't remember. God damn it, never mind. I refuse to look this up. We're just gonna move past this.
Yes. But he's like making a show, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be kind of cool if there was a Twilight Imperium show? And then I thought, no.
Okay, so did I ever tell you I like started reading the first of the Twilight Imperium books that came out?
You did not tell me that.
It's horrible.
I would imagine.
It's just badly written, and and no shame to the author, who is clearly like the kind of writer who gets hired by various companies to write like paperback novels of fantasy universes for IPs. That's what it felt like. It wasn't good. It was very phoned in.
I think my issue with the idea of it is I have a lot of trouble. Like, this is a lot of my issue too with imagining playing the RPG. I can't imagine this game in like a personal context. I can only see this universe in context of a giant world map.
Yeah, a giant grand empire. This isn't a story of individual characters. This is a story of nations at war with one another.
And it's possible to write a story about that in a way that's interesting. But you kind of need a person. You kind of need someone to latch onto. Like Paul Atreides, for example.
Like in Dune.
And you can't... I don't know if you can really have that in Twilight Imperium.
Oh my god. So the main character of the book I read, I can't remember what the title of it was, but he was a member of the Mentat.
Okay.
So he was like kind of a rogue pirate, and he had a crew of like 2 people. One was who were the little green goblin guys? What are they called again?
Serac Noir?
No, those are the bugs.
Oh, this is my second favorite faction.
It
It
starts with a Y.
Yssaril.
Yssaril. I was gonna say Yggdrasil.
No.
The Yssaril, they're like little goblins that can turn invisible, and their whole thing is that like their flagship can turn invisible, and they get lots and lots of action cards, which lets them do all kinds of sneaky
their main
shit.
thing is the action cards, which are like
Another subsystem we haven't gotten into.
No, we won't get deep into it, but they're really, really great for the faction.
I don't know. It sucked. Like, the writing was bad. It was the kind of thing where I was like 3 pages in and cringing, and I'm like, I'm not gonna finish this.
I just don't. Like I said, I can't imagine it like moment to moment, and I can't really see an interesting story being told out of like just narration, which it always would be.
Well, I have imagined like how, because I wanted to run RPGs in this setting, and I feel like I would just try to convert it into an OSR style thing where we all play as like scavengers, which are the space equivalent of adventurers, and instead of going into dungeons, we'll go into like derelict ships.
But it's like, why?
To get shit.
Well, I mean, like, why do that in Twilight Imperium, you know?
The same reason you would do it in Dungeons & Dragons. It's just the universe that it's taking place in. And, yeah, like, I get what you mean. You're missing a lot of, like, what makes Twilight Imperium.
Yeah.
It's not like you get super, super excited that you get to play as a Hakan.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's a lion guy. Well, isn't that... Does he get special abilities? Like, the what are the cat people in D&D? Tabaxi.
Tabaxi, yeah.
Like, can they attack with their claws or something?
I don't even
why not?
I don't even think that's a thing anymore in D&D.
I don't want to get into D&D.
No. Yeah, that's the thing. I would say, like, despite all that, and I will highly recommend this, even though it is a long game and an event. It's so much fun.
One thing I wanted to pick your brain about is 4th edition has been out for a while now.
You think 5th edition?
Yeah, so if they were to make 5th edition, what kind of changes would you want to see in the new version of the game?
For me, it's mostly like how you organize the box.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to open this and like make that whole thing, because that'd be an unboxing. My box, the reason we use my copy and the reason it's so like effed up in all these places and has duct tape over there is because I have put a lot of effort and spent more money than I'm willing to tell you on making sure that everything's organized and put into set areas. I have little trays for your ships, for example, because you have to have them in different places. I made my own previously, but I bought new ones, and I have like card things for all the factions.
Oh, this is the first board game I actually bought sleeves for all the cards.
We both bought sleeves. We also had to
There's thousands of cards in that box.
We also had to buy separate new cards. We had to get specially printed.
Yeah, okay. Before we talk about any expansion thing, about a new edition, let's talk about the expansions a little bit. I mentioned that there was a big paid expansion called Prophecy of Kings.
Yep.
But another cool thing that's unique to Twilight Imperium is that it does free patch updates.
Yep. Called codexes.
So every once in a while, the guy who is the main game designer, not Christian T. Peterson, who created the game originally, but oh no, I forgot his name. It's on the box, isn't it?
No, it just says game design by Christian T. Peterson.
Oh no, I forgot his name. Shoot, it would be on the Prophecy of Kings box.
Oof.
Damn.
Continue.
Google his name while I continue, please, because it's going to drive me nuts. So the codexes are just PDF files that have, like, a playable scenario and, like, some new rules and stuff to add into your game. So there was balance updates. They would change, like, some of the faction's powers. I keep on wanting them to call him Russell T. Davies, which is the guy from Doctor Who.
I was going to say, it's definitely not that. Dane
Beltrami.
Beltrami.
I couldn't remember the name Dane. I'm like, he's got a fucking memorable name. Dane Beltrami, who I genuinely love as a designer. Yes. I like the philosophy he takes. He's very much I am less concerned about balance and my players, and more concerned with putting fun shit in and letting them do the balancing.
Yeah. But we get codexes every few months or so.
I mean, there's only been 4 so far.
Yeah.
And the 4th one is brand new, and I'm going to be honest, the stuff that it's adding didn't really excite me.
I don't even know if I have read through it. I don't want to go through it at the moment, but we can at least
We'll
open
open
it.
up the PDF and we can take a quick glance at it. So what the new codex offers are like optional rules that that affect the entire game. Like there's one called Age of Exploration, which makes it so you can make relics easier, so that you can have more relics in your
It's just
game.
a lot of writing right here.
But then there's like a another one that's all about like combat and makes combat more of a focus.
Galactic events, they have stuff like that. Yeah, that's these.
Age of Exploration, Age of Commerce.
Yeah, and the thing about this looks cool, right? Looks dope. If we want this to be in our copies, we have to find a third party who will take the cards that we have and print them for us.
To be fair, when they first conceived of the codexes, they explained exactly how to do it, and it is completely viable. Since we already sleeve the cards, all you do is print them out on paper and put them in sleeves. Thing is that I found, well, people on Board Game Geeks and on the Twilight Imperium Reddit found a third-party card printing website, and just it became a big thing in the Twilight Imperium community to print out your own expansion, like high-quality cardboard cards with all the other stuff.
Yeah.
You even made your own little chit token for
I
the
did.
one.
One of the things didn't print properly or didn't come with my box, so I had to fix it and make a thing. Make it like a little token.
I love the DIY part of board games.
I do that a lot. I love doing that with these games. That's why I like it with the big box ones.
One of the things I love about board games versus video games is that every single one comes with mod tools by default.
Oh, yeah. Because you have cardboard.
You have cardboard, you have paper, you have an imagination.
But these, in particular, are things that you'd rather get printed.
Yeah, well, these new rules, Age of Exploration, Age of Commerce, it's like an optional subset rule that you pick at the beginning of the game and
Yeah.
like affects the whole game. And this is a 12-hour-long board game.
Yep.
I don't need little variations like that, you know? Like, I do not play Twilight Imperium often enough to, like, say, okay, well, let's do a more economic-focused one this time and use these customized rules.
You also got to consider that, like, adding that to people who, like, haven't really played in a minute, because none of us have played. We don't play regularly. So every time we play this, all of us, minus Ben, even me a little bit, have to kind of relearn some of the rules.
To be fair, I do too. I just do that before the session starts, and then I have to reteach, well, mostly Silas, but honestly, everybody. Like, even Jake is as good as this game as, you know, he's one of the best in our group. He doesn't know the rules.
No, not on by heart.
Not by
even a
heart.
little.
He's just good at strategy.
Yeah, and, like, adding in, we're going to add in special new rules. We're going to add in a whole freaking map thing. It's like, it's not really viable.
I love the option. I love that they have the codexes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I've been thinking a lot about what I want out of 5th edition, and I just want lots of changes to all those little fiddly fucking rules that are impossible to remember.
Yeah, like explaining exactly, changing how they do
Production.
How many units you can make per planet. It's fucking stupid.
I have to explain every single time. I'm like, okay, so this is the limit to how many units you can make, but also this is how much you can pay to make them, and also, like, it's so many little things. And
it's
production,
so many little annoying things.
not to mention there's abilities. There is a production action that you take, which is when you build units, and there's abilities that affect the production action, but there's also other things that you can do that will produce units.
Yep.
But that's not the same as the production action, and those abilities that affect the production action don't affect producing units through other means, and it makes me want to rip my hair out.
It is this little minutia that would be a problem.
Well, it's not actually a problem. It's not actually a problem because, like, it's a big game, and if you make little mistakes, who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Oh, like someone accidentally put like they splashed the tokens off their board and they put too many back on or something like that. That's not going to make them win the game.
No.
The game is too big. It's too complicated. It's not, even though there is a very, very strong competitive scene of people that take this very seriously and, you know, get really, really into the weeds of the rules minutia, and that's the kind of play that Mike wants to have. Like, even though that's a thing, I don't think it's what it's at best at.
No. It's best at being a game that you can have. You can be. You can have it being a thing that you can do once every few months, and all your friends get together, and you do this big long expedition, and then at the end of it, somebody wins, and then for the next week, you have a thing that you can just talk about.
Yeah,
You can bring it up everywhere.
And what I like is that it's a game where Mike can play, and he can take it very, very seriously, and he can, read all this like theory and like figure out read it like a guide and figure out all these like advanced tactics and stuff, because he's a necro player. He loves playing as a necro virus, and he always has a plan for how he's going to get like shitloads of tech and everything.
He also really loves the Imperium.
He also really likes the Imperium,
which is annoying.
But he can
Stay in your lane.
He can play a game, and he can play the way he wants to play it. At the same time, you've got Silas, who just wants to blow up his flagship in other people's units. Or Alex G, who he likes Muad as well. And the first time he played, he would just send a war sun to someone's home planet, get it killed, make a new war sun, send it to that same planet, get it killed, make a new war sun, send it to that planet. He takes out, because his war sun is a very powerful unit, it takes out a lot of the fleets when he does that. But it's not enough to defeat an entire fleet by itself. Okay, Alex? It's not enough.
And it's his favorite faction.
And that's like, okay, well, the player that he's doing it to now has this... It was me in that game, I should point out. Now has this, insane thing you have to deal with. It's like, okay, they're just sending the most powerful unit to suicide itself against my fleets every few rounds. How do I deal with this when I've also got Mike playing super hardcore mode, and you, Ryan, undermining all my deals?
Yeah, so Ben blames me a lot for this game.
Every single game, there is that moment when I'm like, I can win this. And every single game, there is a moment where I'm like, I hate Ryan. I hate Ryan. I hate him so much. Why does he do this to me?
I don't do anything intentionally, for clarity.
No, you try to win.
I'm just trying to win the game.
And you're good at it. I love Twilight Imperium so goddamn much.
It's definitely one of the best games that has ever gamed a game, you know?
So one of the factions is called the Peace Turtles. They're not actually called the Peace Turtles. They're called the X-Cho, which is spelled with, 2 different X's.
Terrible name.
Terrible name. But their whole thing is diplomacy.
Yep.
They're peaceful.
Third favorite.
I do really love playing as turtles. I also love playing as birds.
Yep. Birds. Birds.
They're an expansion faction, and they're a combat-focused one, but they're a fun type of combat where they use lots and lots of small units called destroyers.
Yeah.
And they can do a lot of damage with, big fleets of destroyers.
You were talking about turtles?
I'm just talking about Twilight Imperium, man.
Gotcha.
Okay, there's this one faction, they're called the SAR, and their whole thing is that they don't have a home planet.
Nope.
They just have this shitty asteroid that they live on. So they take their space docks, which normally are,
stuck on a
built
planet.
on your planets, and theirs can just fly. So they fly around their space docks. So they've got a mobile fleet that just goes around like a big SAR ball, and they're really powerful, and I hate them.
It becomes a really big snowball that just can take out anything in its path.
And the one faction is called the Winnu, and their whole thing is that they're all about the central planet. And they race to get that central planet and hold the central planet, and they are not good at all.
No, they're really bad at it. Unless they have the central planet, then they're okay. But if they don't have the central planet, if somebody else gets there first, they're fucked.
I'm trying to come up with another faction to just geek out and gush about, but
was always not the Nazroka.
The Nazroka. Okay, the Nazroka are a new one. Their whole thing is about exploration and relics.
Yes.
Also mechs. Their mechs are really fun.
Yes.
Their mechs can fly around in space. Wait, is that it? Or am I getting it mixed up with the birds?
I think you're getting it mixed up.
Oh my god. Well, the game is big, and I'm pretty sure I know more about the rules than anybody in our group, so give me some credit. Give me some slack.
Yeah. It's dude, it's such a fun fucking game. Yeah, if you don't if you can't, you probably aren't gonna want to buy it because it's like $120 alone, and then you have to buy the expansion for another $80 or whatever.
Well, don't buy the expansion. If you buy it, play it and see if you enjoy it. And because the expansion is made for a certain type of audience.
My recommendation was gonna be find a local area, because you probably have a board game shop in your town. And they probably have board game nights, and they probably have Twilight Imperium as an option.
Yeah, actually, one of our local stores, Griffin's Lair, was doing specifically Twilight Imperium nights.
Oh,
for a while.
We could have done that.
I meant to. Like, when I first found out about it, it was still, like, scheduled, like, months in advance, and then I never got around to looking into it again.
Fair enough.
Also, like, I don't want to play with strangers. I want to play with my friends. That's my favorite
I
part of
wouldn't
board
mind
games.
playing with new friends.
You did actually play Twilight Imperium online. That is how
I
much
did.
you wanted to play Twilight Imperium.
Yeah, it took way longer than I, for some reason, expected. I don't know why, but I thought it was only going to take like 8 hours, and it took like 12, and I was up till like 3 in the morning. My own
Again,
fault.
The biggest problem was the game.
Easily. And that's kind of like why, because Eclipse is another game. It's very similar, actually, Eclipse.
Yeah, it's another big space game with a
big
bunch of different
space
factions that have
box.
different abilities.
It's everything. It's got all that, but it just takes like a fraction of the time.
It's so cool, but it doesn't get me excited like
Not
Twilight
even
Imperium does.
remotely on the same level. It's insane. It's like, because the other thing is that with that game is if you recognize quickly that you fucked your economy, you just aren't gonna do anything. You can't do anything. And if the green faction, I can't remember their name, if they're in the game and they can explore twice, which is or something like that, you're boned. Like, you can't really do anything. That's the one that Mike played and won with.
We're not going to elaborate on that too much because this is about Twilight Imperium.
I mean, like, I don't know if I have much more to say. I mean, we could just like go through all of the factions, but I don't really think that's
Part
good
of me
content.
wants to. I mean, that's my favorite part.
It is. It's such a fun time, but we've gone through all the cool ones pretty much. I could mention the Cabal.
I hate the Cabal.
Everybody hates the Cabal.
So the Cabal were a new expansion faction. The image of them, they look like giant space dinosaurs. They're
Yeah.
like from another dimension. They're these extra dimensional monsters that just want to destroy the entire universe and cause chaos. And I fucking hate playing against them because they steal your units.
Yep.
Like when you normally, your ships get destroyed, they go back into a pile next to your board and you have to rebuild them. These cunts take them and they put them in a pile next to their board and they don't give them back when you want to build them.
Nope.
I hate it.
Yep.
And I hate it specifically because the first time we played the expansion, I played as the Nomad, whose whole deal is that he's got a special flagship, and you only get one flagship. And Mike was playing the Cabal, and his entire goal that game was to gobble up my flagship and never give it back. And he did immediately. And I played the entire game without a flagship, playing as the flagship faction. Thank you, Mike. This game makes me hate my friends, apparently.
Yeah, but then you imagine all the fun times
Yeah, I always want to play it.
every time.
I want to play it now.
We're probably gonna play it soon.
Who are you going to play?
Fuck. What a hard question to answer.
We could pick each other's factions.
I am supposed to pick your faction from now on because you played. Who'd you play last time?
I played Hakan.
I played a con, and it was a game that had some tumultuous results.
I don't remember.
Well, Mike does.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I guess you I don't remember how the thing worked, but you like
Did I do some shady deal?
You did a specific shady deal where you said you'd do X and then you just never did it, and then it screwed him over for the whole game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that. One of the main mechanics, we didn't actually talk about it, and it's not too hard to explain. There's strategic actions, they're called.
Yep.
So turn order changes every single round, and that's based on which strategic action you pick. One of them is called leadership, and they give you tokens, which give you actions throughout the round. One of them is the technology one that lets you research. One of them is the trading one. And the way it works is that, like, the one who picks that action gets a powerful version of it, and everybody else gets a weaker version.
Yeah.
So it's not like if you don't pick the trade option, you can't trade. It's that the guy who picked trade is better at trading than everybody else. And if nobody picked the technology one, then nobody gets technology.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So what I was doing, another thing about the way the rules are written, because diplomacy and making deals and trading is a big part of the game. And almost anything you can bargain with.
Yeah,
you can
pretty
definitely say, hey, I'm going to do this thing. Like, I'll give you trade goods if you just don't do a thing. You know?
Yeah. The only thing you really can't, except for Hakan, is cards.
So what I kept on doing was, the thing is if you can choose not to, uphold your end of the deal. Like if it's a simple exchange of I'm going to give you this for that and you do it right away, then obviously it has to go through. But if it's I'm going to do a favor for you in the future, I can just choose not to do that, even though I said I would.
Yep.
And what I did was I kept on asking him to delay doing a thing, and I would pay him to do that. and he did, and then he wasn't able to do the action he was able to do, and then I built the advantage of it, and I said, okay, well, now I can't let you do it because I need to do another thing, and I did that to him like 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
It wasn't just one bad deal, it was 3.
I didn't understand what he was explaining to me, but yeah, that very much annoyed him.
He was furious.
Very fairly, I would argue. Because it was a scenario of, like, I want you to do X. You did a similar thing last time we played, I believe. Where you
It's
kinda...
my favorite part of the game. Okay.
Well, you can't do it to Mike. Do it to me.
This episode has been me freaking out about, like, all these things that other people did to me while I was playing. And now you're like, okay, yeah, but you remember that time you did that to Mike? Oh, do you remember that time you did this? You remember that time? Okay, that's how the game is played. That's how it works. Ryan is a bastard man. Mike is a bastard man. Jake is a bastard man. Has Eric won a game yet?
No.
Okay, he's not a bastard yet.
Eric's only played, like, twice, I think.
It's only a matter of time.
Oh, wait, no. Did he win the game that you and him and Josh played?
Oh, yeah. We had 2... That one day, we played 2 games simultaneously because we had too many people. So we had, like, a big 6-player official game, and then I did, like, a teaching game with, like, 2 people who had never played before.
Yeah.
And in that one, Nathan got his entire army blown up off Mechatol Rex because you guys voted on the Ixion artifact thing.
Yes, I remember that.
And I had to hear that from the other end of the table. I'm like, just Nathan going, yes, vote on it, vote on it, vote on it, vote on it. No!
Yeah,
He wanted it so bad, and it blew up in his face so hard.
It was a really good game. It was a really good day. But yeah, that's the fucking game, man.
Have we ever had a Twilight... Okay, besides the very first game we ever played where I got the rules wrong, have we ever played a game of Twilight Imperium where we were done and we were just like, that was miserable. I'm unhappy.
I think we might have, but I can't remember. You know me, man. I can't fucking remember anything.
I mean, for me, I definitely... Like, I get emotionally
This is
charged.
the worst way, yeah.
I get extremely emotionally charged, and personally, I feel I'm pretty good at not actually holding a grudge. Like, I think it's very funny playing with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think you are a bastard, and I hate it, but I also think it's very funny.
Well, I would make the point. I believe you notably have a thing now where if you're ever playing with me, you are particularly going for me.
Yeah, well, that's also because I don't think it's fair
Yeah.
to play against, like, do that to other people.
I think there was a game. I don't know if you were there for this one actually. I played with Nathan, and Nathan didn't know how many secret objectives he could have at one time.
Oh, and that imbalanced everything?
He had like 4 or 5, and we were like, you can't have that many, and that like fucked the whole thing up. And that ended up being like a day wasted because I don't remember who. I think I might have won by default as a result. I can't remember, but like it was something stupid like that, and it's like that was annoying. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you were there for that one.
That was your one disappointment. Well, if the game is bad because someone messed up the rules, I don't take that. I don't blame the game.
I don't blame the game. I'm not blaming the game for that. I'm just saying you the question you asked was, did we ever walk away from a game feeling upset? That's a time where that happened.
I'm saying the point I'm trying to make is Twilight Imperium is an amazing game and an amazing experience. You know?
Yes.
And even though I almost never win, and even though I often end every single game like hugely upset with at least one player, always Ryan.
Usually.
Almost always.
Sometimes it's Mike.
Sometimes Mike. Usually it's Mike mad at me.
Sometimes it's Jake.
One time it was Jake. One time it was Jake.
Because Jake did really well.
The thing is that when I make deals with Jake, I'm actually like really afraid of like going back on those deals, and he actually is very easy to like do that with, but I'm terrified of his armies.
Because if you go, usually what happens with Jake is if you go, hey Jake, if you don't do something for a turn, I'll give you like 6 or 7 trade goods, and he goes, okay. He doesn't do it, and then you're like, I don't want to give those trade goods, I need them, and he goes, okay, well, I'm gonna focus all of my attention for the rest of this game on destroying your game.
Yeah, and when he does that, he still somehow wins.
It's so annoying. So, I want to talk about the game we're probably gonna have. I think that maybe you should play the L1Z1.
Ooh, okay. That's a faction I don't normally like get excited about, but they are cool. So the L1Z1X they're kind of like the Borg from Star Trek. They are they are cyborgs. So their main ability is cold assimilate, which means that they steal buildings when they capture planets.
Yeah.
They also have the ability to they're really good at bombardment, which is, using your fleets to bombard planets' ground forces, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, they are just a big combat faction with lots of big dreadnoughts and lots of bombing, and they're cool.
I think that it's gonna be something different for you, which I think will be fun. But I also remember playing them and being terrible at them, which will be fun for me. So who do you want me to play?
Who do I want you to play as? Do you happen to have the list of the ones that you've played as? And
No, I got rid of it because it was unreliable.
so, if I were to like suggest something, do you think you could remember if you've played it before? Because I do want you to
Potentially.
continually try new
So
things.
I don't know if I've played. I know I've played Barony, but I also am pretty sure I played Barony when we did our first games, which I barely count. I know I played Tsar. I don't think I've played Mawat. I have played Hakan. I've played Federation. I've played Ghosts. I've played L1Z. I don't remember if I played the Mentec. I know I played the Nala because I love them. I know I've played Necro because I was bad at them. I know I played Sardak Nor because that was literally my worst game ever.
Oh yeah,
That was the game that was the second game I think Alex won.
the one where he was Extra,
It was in the one. It was the one where it was at your house.
my birthday game.
Your birthday game.
So
You
I
didn't even
had
play.
I had a birthday game of Twilight Imperium where I did not play Twilight Imperium.
Yep.
You got to understand, listeners, I love this game so much that I just want to share it with people. So this one, for my birthday game, I had several people who had never played before, and I moderated the game. I taught them the rules. I would help everyone do it. I'd keep everything organized and flowing so it would be quick. And it's kind of shit that you need that in order to make it not a 12-hour game.
Yes.
Like a dedicated DM moderator kind of figure, but I don't mind doing it because I love it.
I played the Sardak Nor because it was known at this point that I'm really bad at these specific kinds of factions. But also, this is at the end of the 2 years roughly where I won every game. So I was pretty confident.
Yeah.
But then I ended up getting the worst planets nearby that I could possibly get. And then I ended up playing one of the worst factions for obtaining new stuff, which is Sardak Nor.
Yeah.
And then I was next to people who were way better than me, and I just ended up just getting destroyed that game. And there's a point when Ben was like, you gotta get planets, right? And I'm like, I fucking know, Ben. I know.
I was being a dick. All right.
It was good. So I played them, hated them. I played Universities. I have not played Winu. I know that. I played Extra.
I could have sworn you have played Winu. Wasn't that the first faction?
No, I was going to play Winu multiple times, but I never did.
That's
I would say I'm gonna play Winu, and then we get there, and I'm like, I'm not gonna play Winu.
I don't want you to play Winu.
Oh no, not Nalu is my favorite. Sorry, Searle is my favorite, second favorite or whatever. Nalu is.
You like Nalu though.
I do like Nalu, but I don't. I like them because I think they're kind of broken.
There was a little period of time where
they were definitely broken at one point. They might not be now, but they were. Their whole thing is they go first. That's their main problem.
Yeah, so I mentioned that turn order is determined by strategic action. Not these guys, they just always go first if they're in the game. They can also trade away that ability, and they'd be stupid if they ever do that.
I've also played Extra and Ian and the Searle. I know I've played Argent and Imperium because these two really fun ones.
You've played Mahakt.
I have played Mahakt, and it was a bad game. I played Nazroka. I have played Nomad. I don't think I've played Titans or the Rule Wrath.
Well, I don't want a Titans in this game if I can help it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you play as Arborek. They're really interesting, and that'll actually give you a weird game to play.
Okay.
Because, some factions are pretty typical. Okay, they're good at combat. So, the Barony, for instance, their whole thing is they can have really big fleets. Normally, the size of your fleets limits the number of actions you can take per round.
Yep.
But they just get, 2 extra ships for free. So, and in the beginning, they keep the same size fleets as everybody else, but they get extra actions because of that. And then later on, they just shift to big-ass fleets that you can't stop. Pretty simple. On the other hand, Arborek, like we mentioned before, are all about, they're normally when you build ships, you build them out of space docks. Well, somehow the Arborek are able to spawn them from their ground units.
Yep.
And that's really weird. So you make an infantry, and then that makes an infantry, and then they both make 2 more infantry, and then they make 4 infantry, and then they make 8, and it just keeps on growing and growing.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'll be excited to try it. I'll try to be more aggressive in certain ways and less in others. And then when we actually play that game, which I think is going to probably end up in 2 to 3 weeks, depending, we'll give you an update.
Anything else we want to talk about Twilight Imperium?
It's the best game ever. You should buy it.
It's the best game ever. You should buy it. It's okay if you don't.
Yeah, it's a little too expensive for most people, I'd say.
If a 5th edition gets announced, you should pay attention to that.
Yes.
You know?
At least see what they're doing.
Because
it might be terrible, but who knows?
arguably, like, everything I've gushed about with this version of the game, you could say about the third edition. Like, I originally watched Shut Up and Sit Down's review of the third edition of the game back when they were, like, a new channel. Like, they weren't even a YouTube channel. And then their fourth edition review convinced me to buy it.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, I just need to play this. I want to play this so goddamn bad. And fourth edition is better than third edition every single way. They cleaned up everything, you know? They made it more balanced. They made a lot of the fiddly rules less fiddly.
And
like, I'm complaining about all the little things, but it's so much better than it used to be.
And then they added a lot of stuff into this edition that they had from the Prophecy of Kings.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just so good. But now that we're done with that, Ben, I need to tell you about Rent-A-Girlfriend.
Okay. Rent-A-Girlfriend. I have heard the name. I've seen it online. I have never looked into it. I had assumed it was a manga about a guy who pays someone to be his girlfriend and then falls in love with them, is my guess. And I'm assuming it is a comedy romance series?
That is largely correct.
Okay.
I believe it's not as much of a comedy as it is a straight romance, to my knowledge. But that isn't particularly why I care to tell you about it.
Okay.
The reason I care to tell you about it is because recently the manga had and we'll have to see, we'll use quotation marks, an end-ish thing. And what I mean by that is that had an issue come out that could be an end.
Okay.
To be more specific. And this is spoilers for Rent-A-Girlfriend if you're into this, by the way.
We're just assuming that none of our listeners are really going to care that much.
No, I don't think they will.
Like, even if it's worth reading, it's still worth reading with the spoilers.
And I have no idea if it's worth reading. I haven't read it. I only heard about the ending, and I thought the ending was kind of odd, but interesting, because the way that it ends, quote unquote, because it's not really ending. To my knowledge, is that the main character doesn't get the girl.
Really?
Yes. So the main character, he meets this one girl and he rents her every week because they use a service in Japan called Rent-A-Girlfriend, where you can rent a girl to hang out with you regularly.
To be your girlfriend.
Yeah. And he pays her and he like falls in love with her and eventually he asks her out for real and she rejects him. And that by itself would be fine, actually. I actually think there'd be a lot of people who would be against that, and I don't think it's fair.
It would depend on how it's written. I could see that being like really, really profound if done well.
Done correctly, because like being in a relationship's complicated, and you can't just associate it all with like the online perception of what a relationship is.
Yeah.
So I would say that if that was just the whole thing and there wasn't anything else added to this, that would be a fine potential way for it to end. But that is not what happened.
What happened?
What happened is that she rejects him, and then she goes to marry the author of the manga.
What? Wait.
The guy who made Rent-A-Girlfriend.
The writer of the mangaka, whatever the hell it's called. The author has an in-universe version of himself.
And out-universe, because he's also taken her an effigy of her on dates.
Oh.
So,
like a body pillow?
Full on.
Oh my god. What?
So, the mangaka of this manga has cucked his main character.
That's a little cringe.
I found that to be so fucking funny. It's unfair.
Oh my god. That reminds me of two bizarrely similar things. But I only ever heard about it like secondhand, as mostly people like slinging insults. But there was a reboot of the Powerpuff Girls.
Oh yes, I've seen this.
And I guess the showrunner of the reboot has like a weird crush on Blossom, who is a kindergartner, I should point out. And he made his own character in universe to date the character.
Yeah, I believe, to my recollection, his argument was that the art team just did that.
Mm-hmm. Sure, they did.
But, like, you see a picture of him, and he's got glasses, and he's got the hair, and you see the picture of the character, and it's just like him. Like, it's just him. It's just straight up as him.
That's kind of cringe.
It's incredibly cringe.
Especially because, again, this is one of the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
The other one is World of Warcraft. Like, the guy who's been in charge of writing, like, all the main expansions is obsessed with Sylvanas Windrunner, the leader of the Undead faction.
I did not know any of that.
And, yeah, anytime a expansion comes out, people critique the story, and it's always comes down to him and his weird in-universe fanfiction character and his relationship to Sylvanas Windrunner, and it's super cringe, and everyone's hated the story of World of Warcraft ever since, like, Cataclysm because of it.
I did not know that was a thing. These are really funny stories to me.
It's kind of sad.
It is sad. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand, like, the rationale between it being just like a bad thing, but like it's just like the main character cucked his MC. He got cucked by the author, bro. That's so funny.
I said that, like, a romance story where the two characters don't get together can be profound.
It can
be
very good.
Like, I imagine, like, a really interesting, like, story about, like, someone learning, like, you know, what's important in a relationship and, like, failing to live up to that and, like, all that kind of stuff, you know? Like, you know the song Jesse's Girl?
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time thinking about the song Jesse's Girl because the character who is singing Jesse's Girl doesn't fucking understand Jesse's Girl. Like,
Right.
he just sees this relationship from the outside. He thinks that that's what he wants, but he doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes, you know?
Yeah.
And I love, like, you know, I love the psychology of that kind of stuff. I love, you know, stories about. It's why I write romance novels, you know.
Yeah. It's the
Like,
interesting part. It's going through and recognizing the complicated nature of an actual human relationship can be very fascinating.
as soon as you put your author insert character dating, you're cucking your main character. I'm like, I think you need to maybe learn a little bit more about this stuff yourself.
As soon as we get to that point, it's like, oh, okay, so all of the profound part of this failed. Cool. So that was the thing I wanted to tell you that I thought you'd find funny.
It's very funny.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I am probably never going to check out Rent a Girlfriend. Sorry, Rent a Girlfriend fans.
I'm not either, but if you're into it, you go off, King.
Yeah, you go off, King.
Now I want to tell you a story that'll make you mad.
Oh no.
I want to tell you about Twink Link. You know about Twink Link?
No, okay. Twink Link is one of the funniest fucking names I've ever heard. Is
great.
this not a gay dating site?
Isn't it a great name?
Is it a gay dating site?
No. It's actually a story by a guy on Reddit.
Okay.
And the guy on Reddit was telling people about how he got a Switch 2, and he let his whole family play on a Switch 2.
Okay.
His sister decided that she wanted to have her name be Twink Link.
Okay, so she named her user profile Twink Link, which is a name.
Permabanned their console.
Permabanned it?
They got bricked to a point where Nintendo can't fix it.
Fucking Nintendo. Fucking Christ.
Right?
Because they said Twink?
Because Twink Link.
Okay, so for our listeners who might not know this, because I had to learn this the hard way, Twink has two connotations depending on the community that we're talking about.
Sure.
I learned about it from the D&D community, in which a
right.
twink is a player who, like, really tryhards the game and makes, like, a min-maxed character and, like, that kind of stuff. It is much, much, much better known by its connotation in the gay community, where a twink is a thin, slightly more effeminate gay man.
Timothy Chalamet.
Not gay. Timothy Chalamet is definitely a twink.
But he's a twink. Classifiably a twink.
And that bricked their console? That sucks. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck Nintendo.
Bro, it was
It's
crazy.
not even offensive.
It's not offensive. Also, it's my fucking... I bought it. I bought the thing. How are you going to change what's on... I put on my console. It's not online. It's not like this is the online profile, which even then it's like fucking crazy. But if you buy the console and then name it something stupid in your own fucking house, and then you go, actually, no, you can't do that, and we're going to make it so that no one can fix this.
What's your computer named? Did you name your computer?
I used to name my computer. I stopped doing it because I got new stuff and it would change the name.
My computer is named GLaDOS, after the computer from Portal 2. And Portal 2, you know?
Good name.
That would be like, oh, that's a copyright infringement. Fuck you.
fuck
ban
you,
you.
and we're gonna break your whole system.
I named my Steam controller BMO from the
name.
Adventure Time character.
Yeah, and like I can't even.
Just the word twink, that's why they got banned?
Nah.
That's insane. There's nothing wrong with twink.
No.
Like,
But-
there's nothing. There's twinks are valid. We love you, twinks.
Maybe
I love
it's
twinks.
probably like a very specific Nintendo thing where they're very conservative about that sort of stuff, where they don't want kids to see twink and be like, "What's a twink?" Like a kid will give a fuck.
Okay, but knowing that gay people exist is not.
I
There's
agree.
nothing wrong with that.
We know that. We already know
I'm
that.
I'm so mad.
It's
mad.
highly conservative
Fuck you,
Japanese
Nintendo.
people.
Oh my god, this is why Mother 3 will never get released.
Yeah. Bruh, but I wanted to tell you that, make you really angry. I hope it worked.
I'm pissed now. Fuck you, Nintendo.
Let's not quit opera. Let's go.
That's why I'm not buying a Switch 2, and definitely not because I'm broke as fuck.
Also because it's way too expensive for what it is. Switch 2's insane, dude. You can just buy a Steam Deck.
I could just buy a Steam Deck, and then I'd finally be able to play UFO 50 on the go.
Yeah.
The worst part about UFO 50 is that it's only on Steam, meaning I can only play it on my computer. And, like, sometimes I just want to sit in my living room.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of UFO 50.
All right, yeah, so finally we'll wrap up my my UFO 50 review for the episode, and then we'll be done. This week I played and beat Paint Chase. Paint Chase is pretty neat.
You spelled it wrong.
What do you mean spelled it wrong? I didn't spell it. Someone else did that. Okay, whoever made this template on Tier Maker, you spelled Chase wrong. There's no I.
It's kind of crazy to be fucking honest with you, bro.
I'll pick a new template the next time I remake the tier list.
Maybe you should make the template on here.
So, Paint Chase is a combination of Rally X and Splatoon.
Yep.
Have you ever played Rally X, or do you know anything about it?
Nope.
Well, you know about Splatoon, right?
I know about Splatoon. I also know about Tron.
Yeah, okay, that's a good way of putting it. So, in a game of Paint Chase, you play as a little race car, and you drive around a maze, and you leave a trail of paint behind you.
Yep.
And the goal is to paint the whole maze before the time runs out. But there are enemy units that paint it another color, so you have to paint over what they paint over, and it is a struggle to have the more a bigger majority of your side painted, kind of like that one Pink Panther cartoon from back in the day.
What you want is to every round. I've also played Meat Paint Chase for the record. Every round you get a percentage that you have to beat, so it'll be like 55%, and you just have to make sure that you get 55% more than the enemies.
Exactly. So might surprise you a little bit, but I say it's a combination of Rally X and Splatoon, but it's not really.
No,
It actually does very, very little to do with Splatoon, and the whole paint gimmick is not really all that innovative.
No,
so
not even really.
Are you familiar with the maze chase genre?
Vaguely.
Maze chase is, I'd say, basically a dead genre now. Like, except for new Pac-Man games, I can't really think of any.
Is Bomberman technically a maze chase?
No, I don't know what Bomberman would be. That's a good question. I'll get back to you on that.
It's kind of close.
There is a maze element, but Bomberman also has a big multiplayer focus kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maze chases are technically a precursor to platformers.
Yeah.
They're all based around movement. The original one being Pac-Man, which was at the time one of the most popular games ever made.
Yep.
And the goal of Pac-Man is, of course, to eat all the dots, which is another way of saying that you have to have Pac-Man touch every single part of the map at least once.
Yeah.
And most maze chase games kind of follow that formula. Usually they'll have like specific things you have to touch, like Nintendo has one called Clue Clue Land, where the maze is kind of invisible and you bounce around and you hit the walls to reveal them, and you have to find like coins.
They did that on a, I think it's a James Pond game.
James Pond? What's that?
James Pond is an old adventure game that's supposed to be referencing James 007.
I guess that. Is he a frog or something? Is that why he's James
I
Pond?
think he's a fish. Actually, I think I'm getting this mixed up. I think James Bond is a platformer that does that. I think what I'm thinking of is the adventure game version, which is called something else. That's supposed to be a pun, but I can't remember the name of it.
Okay, then.
I have accidentally walked myself into a corner.
Back to Paint Chase.
Yes, but it had one. My point is, it had one of those you can't see, but you have a guy going through.
Yeah.
Yahtzee Croshaw also did a game called Journey into the Fantabulous Wonderment or something along those lines.
It's a pretty good name.
It's really specific and weird. And it was an adventure game where you would play as a little guy, like a little toupee.
A little toupee?
You were a toupee that was alive.
Interesting.
You played as multiple characters, but you played as a toupee that was alive, and it was the same concept. You just go around into like an invisible maze.
So the big difference between Paint Chase and like another maze chase kind of game like Pac-Man is the timer. Like that's the actual thing.
Yeah.
Rather than having to finish the goal, there is a timer, and if you have not completed the goal by the timer has gone off, then you lose.
Yep.
There is no like dying. There is no like a game over. Well, there are lives. If you fail to beat the level, then you lose a life and you have to retry it. And I think there's like 15 levels you have to play in sequence in order to beat it.
And you probably have to get all of them for the cherry.
And like I would say, at first I wasn't really feeling Paint Chase, but it did grow on me after a while.
I liked Paint Chase kind of immediately because it reminded me of Tron and like the concept of that, of going around and
Leaving the trail behind you and
leaving
everything.
the trail. And I just really liked conceptually the idea of like getting this as to a percentage. I don't know why, but that was really attached to that. And then every level they kind of changed something up slight or minor.
It is a fun game to practice. Like
Yeah.
every single level is its own little map and has its own little secret gimmick you got to figure out. Like early on, they introduce buttons that you press that will raise platforms and lower others, which basically change the area of the map. And the trick on the first time you do that is, you paint the areas before you raise them, and then you raise them up, and then those are blocked off from the enemies, so you never have to worry about defending those areas ever again. Little things like that. Or another one introduces spikes, and the field is just covered in spikes. It's like, how am I supposed to actually get anywhere? Because there's just a wall of spikes blocking me, and if I touch the spike, I take a lot of damage and I slow down. Well, it turns out that if you are under a speed boost effect, then you can kill a spike.
Yep.
And it turns out there's multiple ways to get a speed boost, whether it's a little boost pad or whether you hit a bumper and you bounce off of it, which is fun to do, like it's a little skillful maneuver that you got to practice. My issue is that every single level, you've got to figure out the trick to the level, and you have to play all the levels in sequence.
Yep.
So if you get to level 13 and you're on your last life and you don't know the trick, you're just going to lose. And now you have to play 12 levels again in order to get back to level 13 and practice it.
Yeah.
You can't just select it. That's my biggest problem with it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I was one of those ones that I knew I would gold, but I don't know if I'll ever cherry because I don't feel like it. But I enjoyed it as like a little puzzle, because every game's kind of a puzzle where you go through and you go, I know exactly how to get like the first. It's similar last week when we talked about map design or map recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Similar concept. You just get you recognize and you get a feel for the map, and you go, if I go up and then left and down and over, I can get like kill 2 enemies, and I can also like get the power up that lets me get another speed boost or something else, or
you kind of have like a game plan in mind, and you hit those like timings perfectly, and then you do really well, or you fail to miss those timings, and it's like, oh wow, I just got destroyed that game.
I have been devastated. I will now leave.
It doesn't really stand that out, and maybe I think a little bit has to do with the theme, which I don't care about. Like, you play as a race car.
I would even say the aesthetic is kind of lame.
The thing is that like you could replace the race car with anything, and it's still the same game. Like, you have to destroy other little cars and like planes and other stuff, but they're arbitrarily chosen.
This would be a game I would argue would have improved if it was a little bit more developed.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the games in UFO 50 are like just a full video game that you'd pay $5 for on Steam.
Yeah.
I think Paint Chase would be an example of a game where you would not want to pay for it. You'd want it to be a little bit more built out.
If it were a Flash game, I'd consider it an excellent Flash game.
Yeah.
Since it is a part of a collection of 50 games that I paid $25 for, it's worth it. But yeah, I don't think I'd ever buy Paint Chase.
No.
But at the same time, I don't know if I would ever buy Bug Hunter. I could see other people buying Bug Hunter, but I don't think I would buy Bug
Well, I don't
Hunter.
think people would buy Paint Chase at all. I think because I think the price would be too much.
Well, on my tier list, I put it above Bug Hunter because I find it more fun to play than Bug Hunter.
On your personal one.
Yeah. Well, no, my personal list, I actually probably put it down at the bottom. So my personal list would be, from top to bottom of these 4 games, Ninpek Barbuda, Paint Chase, Bug Hunter. But my tier list, I'm trying to take into account like what I consider like really good design and really interesting concepts, and what I imagine other people would enjoy, like from a more general audience.
I just
kind of
mean that,
purpose.
like, I think if they had taken Paint Chase and they added like a third color,
That a third color.
like you just do that, or you add like another thing where you can do an actual race, and then you can get deeper into the theme itself as a rally car.
It's funny, yeah. Like again, they have the car theme. There's no special driving
Nope.
controls. There is no like racing mechanic or anything.
It isn't like Onion Delivery.
no.
Thank God.
Onion. I can't wait to talk about Onion Delivery. Onion
can.
Delivery I find fascinating.
I think the only way to play Onion Delivery is with a fucking wheel.
Maybe Onion Delivery is considered like hard, like a unique kind of hard. Like there's certain people who love Onion Delivery and they don't play any other game on the collection because it takes that much time to get that good at Onion Delivery. It's hard, dude. It is hard.
It's hard. It's probably why I don't like it.
We're not gonna talk about Onion Delivery. Onion Delivery is long in the future. It's gonna take me forever to beat.
It's like 2 rows down, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm gonna beat it in time. Like I've beaten several games in advance, and right now I'm stuck on Devolution. I'm like, okay, it's inevitable.
We're here.
Yeah, we're here. Onion, it's all the way down there. It's gonna be many episodes.
Oh, we
before
can
get
talk
to
about
Onion
Magic
Delivery.
Garden next. That'll be fun.
Magic
I can't wait to talk about Mortal with you.
Mortal is fascinating.
I'm excited for Mortal.
I always feel like I end up talking about the more interesting games when I'm reviewing something like Paint Chase.
Well, that's because Paint Chase isn't that interesting.
Paint Chase is good. It's just not
fine.
interesting. In so many games in the collection are insanely innovative and insane of like thought provoking. Like Mortal. Mortal is a game where it's like, oh, I can't believe nobody's thought of this before. This is
Or Mini and Max.
Mini and Max is mind blowing.
I love Mini and Max, dude.
Did you get far enough in Mini Max that you could shrink down another
Yes,
level?
I did.
My God, this game is huge. I think it might be the biggest game on the collection.
Like, technically, yeah. It's so good.
But that's another one, long way in the future.
We're never going to get to Mini and Max. Party Down. There's so many cool games.
To me, Paint Chase just represents like a small piece of video game history.
Yep.
It's a maze chase game.
I actually
don't see
think that's
many
a
of those.
very fair point, though. The fact that that's all it is just a representation of what it should be at this time. Perfect. It's perfect for doing that.
Yeah.
And it is fun.
If it was a maze chase game, because Pac-Man is the one that people know about, because Pac-Man is really fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, it is a game that has aged incredibly well. It's still incredibly fun to play. They have, redone it, like, with variations and been very successful, like Pac-Man 99 and Pac-Man, like, Arcade Edition.
Yeah, Super Pac-Man, something like that.
The competitive version or whatever. There was a ton, and I mean a ton, of rip-off maze chase games that, all came out following Pac-Man, and nobody remembers any
Not
of
a
them.
one. I don't. You said Maze Chase. You described Pac-Man, and I was like, I don't think I know of a single other game that does anything close to this.
So, Nintendo has two. There's Clue Clue Land and Devil World. Devil World never came out in America, but you might remember when Brawl came out, the big blue devil guy that pushes the screen
Yeah.
in Smash Brothers. That is actually one of Miyamoto's original creations, but it's one that people don't talk about because it never came out in the U.S. And it's not as good as Clue Clue Land, which is not as good as Pac-Man.
Well, yeah.
I'm trying to think of like what maze chase games are actually like really good that stand out, and the only thing I can come up with is like Lock and Chase for the Game Boy. And Lock and Chase it's pretty good. It's not like a game that everybody remembers though.
No.
I would actually define that as like a perfect example of a hidden gem. It's like, oh, early Game Boy release example of a maze chase game that isn't Pac-Man that's also really good.
Well, never heard of it. But I have heard of Devolution.
I don't like Devolution.
I'm trying to beat it.
Spoilers for like 6 episodes from now. If I've beaten Devolution by then, who knows?
I'm trying to, and it's so hard.
I find it very hard. That is Derek Hughes' very first game, I believe.
I like the aspect of it, but like it's just so difficult. And I've gotten to the point where I'm writing down my first one.
Really?
I write it down.
You're taking notes as you play?
I have to fight. I have to kill the X first.
All right. I'm seeing the writing on the wall. We're talking about the games that I'm not reviewing. Paint Chase, I got nothing else to say. Let's call it here.
Yeah.
I like Paint Chase. It is fun to play. It is not that exciting, though. It is A tier, but not as good as Ninpek.
I would put it B tier in my personal list, but I'm not the one reviewing them. So
I might modify it a bit.
It's
That's
up
the
to
thing,
you.
though. It's like I do think that more people would enjoy it more than Barbuda, and I do think that more people would enjoy it
then
more
move
than Bug Hunter.
move Barbuda to C where it belongs.
Barbuda deserves to be in B tier, though. Barbuda is a genius game.
It's
It is
but it's not
excellently
fun.
made. It's very thought-provoking. It's very compelling.
But
It's not fun.
exactly.
But it is good. I don't know how else to put it.
There's aspects of it that are good.
Look, eventually I'm going to go back. I'm going to cherry. Like, I know which games I'm going to cherry and which ones I'm not
And
going to
one
bother.
of them is Barbuda.
I'm going to go back and cherry Barbuda eventually. Like, I went back and I cherried Magic Garden. I went back and I cherried Felgress. I will cherry Barbuda. I don't know if I'm going to cherry Paint Chase. I'm definitely not going to cherry Bug Hunter.
No.
And not Ninpek either. Ninpek is way too hard for me.
What is? Yeah, no, I can't. That's the other one I was trying and I cannot do it.
It was like I beat that the first playthrough. That was really hard for me.
Mm.
And then I played a little bit of the second playthrough after that, and I'm like, oh my god, tiny little changes. They replaced the water snakes with these lizards that just fly up as they just home in on you.
Oh,
They
cool.
just literally fly straight at you. It sucks. It makes everything so much harder.
That sounds really fun. I can't wait for that.
I mean, some people love it. Ninpek is really good. It's just also not my kind of thing.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much the episode. So,
like after this, do you want to talk about Twilight Imperium?
you know what? Actually, I could take a couple hours today and talk about Twilight Imperium.
There's some more things I wanted to get off my chest about Twilight Imperium. Maybe not for the podcast, but like we still have a lot we have to discuss. Upcoming game and all.
We're gonna talk shit on all of our friends. Eric, you better keep your fucking eyes open. But thank you for watching.
If you like
Please
this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe.
and subscribe. Why do we do it at the same time? I should have just let you do it. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
You can have the last word if you want. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.